Are joined by Adam McCreary, and we're here to talk about the Pelicans' crazy season from hell. So tune in.
The New Orleans Pelicans select Zion Williamson.
And Holiday, the dribble penetration. So tough going to the goal. High above the rim to rip it down.
Welcome, gentlemen, Jeremy, Mason, Adam. Welcome to the show. Adam, for those people who don't know, from the Wing Pod with Christian Clark, who is unfortunately moving on to a different beat. But Adam, welcome to In the Know. How are you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. I've had better seasons than this, and have not had to deal with the departure of a co-host in the middle of the chaos and injury. But I'm living. I'm alive. I'm good. I'm surviving.
Everyone has.
How are y'all doing?
Everyone has to deal with the season from hell in their own way.
It's the next man up mentality, Adam.
It is.
Who's the next man up?
Oh, the next man up for me is Steve Jones.
That is true. Hey, I won't say it's an upgrade, but that's one hell of a six-man.
Steve Jones off the bench might be reaching some Malik Monk status. I'm a starter in this league. Mason, Jeremy, fellas, how was your weekend before we get into the Pelican stuff?
If you look on the Blue Sky thing, I cleaned up rather nicely this weekend. But other than that, just dealing with this team, for better or for worse.
Fucking disaster of a college football weekend. So nothing about this weekend sports wise went according to plan. So we can just move on.
I'm so glad Miami won't get embarrassed in front of everyone in mixed company. Just go play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. That's fantastic for me.
So we're not here to talk about Mensa leaving?
That was the cherry on top, man.
No, we are here to talk about Cooper Flagg, BJ Edgecombe, Edgar Devin, Ace Bailey. Thank you, Carlitos, for the comment there. The Pelicans have obviously had a disaster season tonight, losing a game to the San Antonio Spurs. Very exciting, very entertaining game. They were shorthanded once again. I mean, that's been the whole season. Nothing really new there, but plenty to talk about. Let me kick it off by kicking it to our guest first. Look, this game is coming off the heels of a game against OKC that was going sideways pretty rapidly with, Brandon Ingram getting hurt in the second half. Pelicans made a bit of a rally, and then obviously they still lost in a pretty significant way. The Pelicans losing their two best players, not having them on the court, trying to dig deep, facing a good Spurs team. This is a team that's going to be in the postseason mix, and they have the capacity to buy going into the trade deadline. They have a lot of picks. They can go in any direction they need to go. What were your expectations coming into this game? And relative to those, how do you think the Pelicans played?
Look, this was a fun game. This was more of what I hope to see. It's been a little bit different of a team already, like visually, just in a short period of time. And I think we saw that dynamically the other night in the OKC game. I think we saw two teams, and we saw a continuation of that second half in this game today. You end up in some weird spots because with those absences, you're pushing guys up into roles that you did not design at the beginning of the season. Like, you did not plan for some of these guys to get pushed up into the level of usage and the scoring reliability that you need. So, I'm watering down my expectations, but I want to see more ball movement. I want to see better half court offense. I want to see them initiate plays faster, and all those things are happening. They're doing some things. The defense is starting to show up, and for a team coached by Willie Green to be bad defensively for as long as they have, it's nice to see. No coincidence that Herb Jones came back. The defense comes back. So, it's solid. It's better. We're still losing. Maybe we're shifting into tank mode. We'll see.
Yeah, I want to do a quick shout out to a friend of the show. I think both shows actually. Pelicans Film Room just does great work. The ethical aggregator, as he likes to call himself, and it's extremely ethical. But yes, Pelican Film Room says at least the games are watchable again. I want to touch on your comment about seeing two different teams in that OKC game and wanting to see more pace, more ball movement, that kind of stuff. Mason, Jeremy, is that what you guys also saw out of that game? And I guess if you were to expand upon what Adam is trying to say here, what do you think Adam is trying to say here?
There wasn't a ball stopper. There wasn't a lot of elbow action, except for when he called for the clutch.
Wait. I want to pause you right there. The San Antonio mics were quite good at picking up what Willie Green had to say all throughout the game, and in the clutch, about 2.5 minutes left in the game, Wemby just takes the most absurd logo three, not the one that he made, not the one that ripped their hearts out, but the one that was just like they were on the Pelicans were on a 9-0 run. There was a big scoring drought. Spurs hadn't scored in 3 minutes straight. Wemby takes a stupid shot. I think it was a stupid shot, but he made the same shot later. Willie Green screaming, elbow.
Like everyone's mad about the Dejounte Murray shot after the made three, and I'm like, that was the possession I'm mad about. The possession I'm mad about was you were moving the ball, you're in transition, and you tell them, "Hey, stop, run a play from the elbow." Why? You've been working so well with 4 out. You've been doing so well playing screen and roll with Eves, spreading the court out. This is what you're doing, and now you want them to go with the elbow. Do the flare screens you've been doing with Trey all game. It's been working. Why are we doing something that has not worked? So, other than that, the last 6 quarters have been really fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, all I'll say is the Pelicans were one CJ McCollum cold night and one Dejounte cold night from winning both of those games. Yep. And if you watch the first half of basketball last night, and I was to tell you that, you'd tell me I was fucking crazy, right? I mean, so something did change, and I don't think I need to beat that point up any more than y'all have so far. But I mean, they're playing fun, competitive basketball. They're losing, and I think even though we're only in early December, close losses feel like the best outcome right now. So I'll take it.
I'll rip the Band-Aid off. I'm not saying that Brandon Ingram's a bad player. I'm saying and I don't want him to get injured. I don't want anyone to lose time for injury. That being said, when someone is soaking up all those possessions and slowing the offense down in the way that he does, and he needs to take 12, 14 seconds to try to make a move off of somebody, and then you see these quick decisions being made time and again, even if they're bad decisions, because some of them are maybe a little rushed, but I will take the bad decisions, if they're quick, then the long drawn out, you only get one shot in the shot clock. Look just how active your rookie was, because he's drawing so much activity and energy just by rolling down the court. Look how many open shots are available for the team just off a simple screen and roll action. That's been missing, and it was found these last 6 quarters. And I don't want to sound like an asshole, but one guy left who soaks up a lot of possessions, and other people are soaking up the position, making quick decisions, and it's noticeable.
I wanna spin this back to Adam, since he's the one that lobbed it up to us. Adam, when you're talking about these visual changes and some of these things that Mason and Jeremy have touched on, I guess what's been jumping out to you, and at this point, is it surprising that you're seeing this take place?
Look, it's the difference in the majority of plays being initiated by Dejounte Murray versus a lot of plays being initiated by Brandon Ingram. I'll just say it out loud. Dejounte is more point guard, more survivable point guard, half court transition, everything. He has a plan. Sometimes it breaks down. Sometimes that handle gets loose. Sometimes it gets a little careless, but you live with that for having a guy that is willing to quickly make his first decision. He may not make the best one at decision number 2 or decision number 3, but he makes his first decision very, very quickly, and the ball moves. It's the balance of those two things. Having BI in there, even though, like I'll say, for this season, he has played more of the style that you would hope for in the contract year, and he's shot the threes, and he's pulled up in transition and all those things. He's done more of those things. You can just see it visually in a half-court situation with all of the guys on the floor. When he touches the ball, nobody moves because they're not expecting the play to develop very quickly. There's no cutter. There's no baseline driver. Like it doesn't happen because he's not probing space. He's typically like dribbling in about 3 feet and either spinning around and taking a jumper or going back out. Like it's just not, it's slower. It's slower. It's indecisive. It takes up a lot of clock. And the visual thing for anybody that doesn't want to like look at every little play to try and diagnose something like this, just look at the average time on the shot clock when the play starts. Look for the first screen and the first step across the 3-point arc. Look at when that happens. It happens in the first 4 seconds of the damn clock now, and it used to not happen until the 13-second mark.
I got to comment on that to the point specifically because I missed the game last night when I was watching Texas blow it. And so I watched the condensed version on NBA.com or on League Pass this morning. And I noticed, and they're in the first half, a lot of the clips only started halfway through the shot clock. It was like, oh, I wonder what was happening during the second 10 seconds that they chose not to show. Probably BI pounding the air out of the ball. And they're like, no, let's just skip this because no one wants to watch it, you know?
Yeah, I think a lot of us are very much on the same page here. And I think before the Dejounte trade was made, the discussions around Dejounte as a player was his similarity to Brandon. The tendency to operate from the same spots on the floor, needing the ball. Yeah, exactly. So there were surface level similarities. Now, the way Dejounte plays, as Adam mentioned, as Jeremy mentioned, the quickness he gets into his sets with is what makes him a fundamentally different player than Brandon. I was watching the crunch time offense, and someone might look at the shot chart and what Dejounte was doing, he'd be like, he just took the same mid-range shots Brandon does. However, what was occurring was off those screen and rolls, Dejounte's first choice, the first thing he was looking for was that lob to Messi. And when Wemby or Bassi or whoever the Spurs defensive player would inevitably hug Messi for that lob, Murray would have an open 15-footer or 12-footer that he would then take. And, I think he hit what he hit, right? He hit what he hit. Had he hit that last one, the Pelicans probably win the game, right? Whatever. The outcome is irrelevant. The process wasn't. This also speaks to Willie Green, who I think shares a little bit of responsibility for enabling this. Is that it feels like whenever Brandon's plays and actions are being drawn up, whenever something's being cooked up to get him to his spot, that is the only thing that play is designed to do, right? Get Brandon the ball into his spot. There's a 85% chance that he's going to take a shot there. And then there's a 15% chance that he probably gets a double or something and he can kick out as an escape valve rather than it being a pick your poison type look, where I think that's what's going on with Messi. And I'm going to put Pelicans Film Room comment up here for people to read. He says, the eye test tells me Messi Murray pick and roll is our best offense. I wonder what the analytics say after some sample size. So yeah, I mean, that's where I'm at, is there seems to be hey, this option's taken away from me. I'm looking for that better option. It's not there. I'm going to settle for this, which is how crunch time offense, in my opinion, is supposed to work.
We talk a lot over the course of the last couple of years. Something that you highlight when you're in intense games is the ability to take the player of choice. And, AD talks about this on the broadcast all the time. He always calls him the pigeon. Putting the player of choice in an action right off the bat to get motion in the defense, to change the defense to a beneficial set for you. And it's really hard to do that when you're just throwing screens at a guy that's trying to ISO. And that's not what we're doing anymore. Like, your most athletic player, when Zion's not out there, is getting to use his athleticism, and he's been respected since day one. His athleticism, his verticality is respected immediately. They hug him, they go with him, they switch, they double. That all feeds everyone else. Everybody eats off of that action, and you can target it because the dude will come out, and if he doesn't get the guy the first time, he'll bounce back out. He'll rescreen like lightning and do it again. They're not always clean. He's a rookie still, but the growth curve of this guy right now is stupid. And yeah, it's great. That is the best offense. It is.
And the misses are mostly because he's real thin.
Yeah.
And he's getting bodied by these stronger centers in the league. But the process is there. And also going back to Dejounte, yes, the 15-foot midi may be the result. But as you guys pointed out, it's the open space. And in these last 6 quarters, he's got 13 free throw attempts. So even if he's struggling from the field, he's getting easy shots. He's getting efficient shots. He's getting calls. He's being crafty enough to get calls. And he's taking more threes. Like, he's taking off the dribble threes, the quick decisions. AD, he knows he'll forget more basketball than I know. But I'm going to disagree with the quick threes in the shot clock. If they're good threes, if that's part of the offense in transition, take those shots. Everyone loves them when they go in. But if that's the best decision at the time, take it. Take it. And he's one of the guys that does.
So I people have wanted to know if you can quantify this, and turns out you can't. I mean, there's never going to be this smoking gun that says, "Hey, this is all Brandon Ingram's fault." And frankly, that's just not how basketball works. We're not trying to make this a podcast that says this is all Brandon Ingram's fault, because in Brandon Ingram's career as a Pelican, the Pelicans have been better with Brandon on the floor than without him. He makes them better. He's a good player, and good things happen when he's on the basketball court. And there's more than one way to play basketball. You don't have to be a pace and space team. You don't have to be a ball movement team. We've seen ISO heavy teams get to as far as the conference finals. We've seen different kinds of teams. It just kind of depends on your comfortability and your talent level. Where I think there is a little bit of a conflict is in what the organization projects as the style they want to play, and what Willie Green talks about how he wants to play, and what ends up happening when Brandon's on the court. And I think those two styles clash, and that's something, I think over the last few years I've struggled to wrap my head around. Why is it that with one player is it different, but with 14 others it's something else? And Adam, I want to get your thoughts on the Willie Green aspect of this, because I do, again, like I said, I think there's some responsibility to be shared, and I don't think it's necessarily all a bad thing, because at the end of the day, Willie is a guy that's go out to put his players to succeed, or put his players in a position to succeed, and maybe he feels Brandon's going to succeed in slowing the ball down, or getting to those elbow spots and whatnot.
We've texted about this player and this coach over the years, and we've disagreed. I've tried to defend both of them at times. I think there are two really consistent criticisms you can have about Willie Green that transcend the player's availability and things like that. I think there are two real things that are tangibly there, and we'll see if in a different format for the rest of this year, do you see a departure from that? One is mid-game adaptation. If the game plan for the game starts to go awry in the first quarter and you see by halftime it's going to fail, more often than not, he's just going to stick with it and stay consistent, keep everybody in their roles, and he's just going to go down with the ship. The other thing is it goes to the BI issue that you talk about. I'm pretty comfortable talking about the qualitative stuff. This is where it gets messy and stuff, but this is why we're here, to try and talk this stuff out. I think Brandon's always been a pretty limited player. And I think it gets mucked up by the production and the style of some of the buckets and the popularity and the size of the contract. We bake all that stuff in and we make this giant thing out of it. And I think there are some real limitations to how he can get a three off, to how he can get around a player. He does not have the tightest handle in the world. He is not the fastest guy with his first step. And at the same time, there have been clear times where they wanted to go faster, where the play was supposed to start sooner. And you can look right to Willie and say that you have a couple of guys that have consistently gone against what you say that you want to do. And, he's not the guy to get blustery and super pissed or anything like that. But
hey, man, he got a technical last game.
Hey, look, I like it when he does. It's nice to know he has it in him. I thought I saw him say shit today, and I was all excited.
Whoa.
I was like, wow, did he curse?
Police $5 in the swear jar.
He said, shout for Jesus. He said, shout for Jesus.
But so to the accountability piece, this isn't his style. He doesn't get in guys' faces. But the two guys that we talk about being like the core of this team or that are supposed to be are guys that like need that face up accountability and need to be told that they're doing it wrong. They have both responded to direct criticism in the past. And Willie's shy about that. He's not going to get in their face. He's not going to be the fiery dude that's saying you're screwing up my offense. But they did, and they do consistently. And I think that's one of the things you get with him. I'm very curious to see, like I think you are, how much we get to parse Willie now in this world. Because I think we've already seen like more of the core stuff that we've been told we were going to see. We're seeing more of that. And we're seeing a little more consistently. The defense is coming back. So I'm curious like how much we're going to learn about him over the rest of the year, and whether or not we'll see more than that remains to be seen.
So there's a few things that you mentioned in there that I really, really want to touch on, and I'm excited because we have so many exciting topics. One topic right here, and I've highlighted from Mike Weisberg. Mike, shout out for watching our stream once again.
No, don't shout him out. No, don't shout him out. He's bringing his Celtics propaganda to my quiet little Pelicans podcast. Do not shout Mike out. Love you, Mike.
Yes. So if you guys don't follow Mike, go check out his work regarding the Celtics. Does this great stuff. He says organizational philosophy with regards to the question I asked about Willie and Brandon. He said is the most important thing across the NBA. If the head coach and the org are aligned on a specific offensive philosophy, it makes things 10,000 times or 1,000 times easier in terms of the roster and development plan. And I agree to that with that to an extent. Now, here is the biggest case study going on in the league right now. And in my opinion, that case study is the Sacramento Kings. The Sacramento Kings are foundationally a different team this season than they were the previous seasons under Coach Mike Brown. I consider Coach Mike Brown a very good coach, at least from where my philosophies are when it comes to basketball. I tend to align with a lot of things he talks about, the way he wants to play, the way he had the Kings playing the last couple of years. This year, a lot of the Kings' statistical markers, their rim and three rate is right down there with the Pelicans at league's worst, right? They're playing slower than ever. They're taking more mid-range shots than ever. And then their counterparts in Chicago have like the third best shot diet in the league when they were like bottom 5, right? And they had one major addition, which was DeMar DeRozan, and Chicago lost that player. Did Mike Brown all of a sudden forget how to coach these players into playing fast and into taking good shots? Or is he a victim of his roster? And is there an element of Willie Green where it's like Willie Green's trying to make the best he can because Brandon Ingram's such a great talent and he does make the Pelicans better? Does Willie Green look like a more innovative coach? And Willie has his flaws. We can talk about that. But does he look like a more innovative coach? Do we hold him in higher regard with some of these things that we talk about, some of these concepts, if Brandon's just not on the team and you're seeing this kind of team night in and night out?
Well, to end the season last year in these last 6 quarters answers your question. Like last night was the first time they ever had the better 3 and rim rate than the other team with OKC. And OKC had a lot of runouts because of turnovers, and they still had the better rim and 3 rate. Again, the last 2 weeks of last season, one BI got out and Zion was back. They looked like a more fun, more innovative, quick decision team. When they benched BI in the play-in game, they looked like a more decisive, more quick decision team. It's hard when you say that and you're like, well, BI must be the problem. He's also extremely talented. And even if you have your flaws and your issues, if he's a productive player, you still have to play him on the court because even if you make the right decisions, I'm not playing him over Kane or Jeremiah Robinson Earl. Like that just makes no sense. Even if they make quick decisions, even if they make a gutsy play and play all out, like talent still prevails in the NBA. And even though we talked about Chicago versus Sacramento, at the end of the day, Sacramento's a more talented team, and they're winning more games in a tougher conference. So we loved how the style of play. It's hard to tell coaches to bench these dudes when these dudes are so good at what they do, and it's got these players a hell of a lot of money and access in their lives.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
Yeah, I guess when it comes to Willie, we do have a sample without Brandon Ingram. The problem is like the thing that makes it really hard to assess is because they're never going into training camp thinking we're not going to have Brandon Ingram, right? They can't they can't think about how the world could look like without BI because BI is a really important piece of the franchise. And so even like right now, I have a hard time really thinking through that and knowing like how much of this can we, if it doesn't go as intended, is that just because it wasn't, Brandon was a part of the plan and not having him, they kind of got to adjust and apply. That's kind of been the staple of this team for the last 15 years. I don't know. And so I think as far as it goes with Brandon, like, this is the reason that he's been hard to move. I mean, we're not the only people who see these things. Other teams see everything about. Like we were arguing about Seth's rankings with Dorian Finney-Smith versus BI. Remember, like, still think that was unfair, but like this has been kind of years in the making, and so I guess this isn't a secret. I guess like it's not. I think when we come here and it sounds bad the way we're talking about BI here, but I think it's among smart people in the league. Like this has been kind of a known fact for a while now.
And the toughest thing, is there anybody here that didn't either hope or maybe expect that he would be moved before the season start? Like, I think we were probably all in the same boat. That
All
we're
of
like,
us
don't have him here.
All of us put it on the wax. We all put it on wax, saying that we would prefer him not being on the team.
So, proof of like instinctually we knew that this was going to be a problem, and then the problem manifests, and it's not that surprising.
Well, some of us may have written something that would have said it would have been a recipe for disaster. Even
disaster.
I don't even know. Okay. Let's talk about moving Brandon. But one quick thing, I've been meaning to show this. We want to talk about the quantitative stuff. I'm going to show this on the stream. This is teeny tiny. I think maybe I can make it bigger. Let's see. Does that make it bigger? Yeah, that makes it a lot bigger. Awesome. Let's scroll up to the top. This is last year's season. And we're doing stat value with Brandon Ingram on the left-hand side here and without Brandon Ingram on the right-hand side here. And so the first thing I want to point out right down here is we're almost there. At rim or three-point shot frequency. Without Brandon Ingram, 65.4%. With Brandon Ingram, or sorry. I have it flipped. With Brandon Ingram, 65.4%. Without him, 70%. So there's already a 5% increase in the quality of shot diet when he's off the court. This was last year, pretty large sample in terms of games that he played. That's number one. And then that 65.4 number is like amongst the league's worst. Like it's a pathetically low number, by the way. That's the first thing I want to show here. The second thing I want to show here that is super interesting is there is a very fun time stat that allows you to I'll check the time stat later. But there's pace. The Pelicans were faster when Brandon was off the court, and then there's an offensive seconds per possession on offense. So they were faster, 14.3 seconds when he's off the court, 14.7. I think that's kind of, close, but it's not nothing. And I want to change it to this year instead. And we're going to go to 24-25. And this is with G League level players when he's out. And just to show that we're all not going crazy, let's go down to the three things that we looked at. Sorry, it's taking a second. Here we go. At rim, again, similar rates here, almost a 5% change. I hope I updated the stats and it's not the same one. Oh, Eric getting results. Anyways, I think we're getting the picture. Is that you can quantify these things. I actually was able to pull this out for 4 straight years, and it was the same stuff in every single one of those categories. When you look at pace, when you look at time of possession, when you look at any of those metrics that would quantify is the ball moving? Are the players moving? How fast are they doing it? Are they getting good shots? And it was definitively worse with Brandon on the court.
Quick shout out to the Kings. Play Keon Ellis more. I just wanted to get that in there. Don't give up on Keon Ellis. What are you doing? Yeah,
Malik Monk out of contract extension is what it's doing.
Well, and DeMar, DeMar could have been Brandon. It could have been Brandon. This is it. I don't even know that we need the numbers. I think the hardest thing to do is to go through like the human side of trying to deal a guy and finding out that the market values them even less than you think they should, and then having that constant debate with yourself about what you're willing to take and then what that guy perceives he's worth, which as of last week on ESPN, still looking for a max. Like that's going to be a fun ride. I think it's going to take a little negotiation on that side for them to find something, and it puts us in quite a conundrum. But it's like when you know that he's not long for this world with the Pelicans, like every minute you spend moving towards that stuff just doesn't seem to make a lot of sense, regardless of whether the stats bore out or not. Like he's not likely to be here long term, so get him out of here and build toward your future.
A couple things. I want to speak on the comment they just put out there. I don't think Brandon Ingram is cheeks. I think that's the worst part of it, that he's not cheeks. Like if he shot like 41% from the field, this would be easy. The problem is
not Jordan Poole.
He's not Jordan Poole. Like this.
Hey, Jordan Poole's having a good season.
Nah, for Jordan Poole standards.
Yeah, on the league
basketball owner.
Yeah, that's what that is. But no,
$2.
Ingram doesn't stink. He isn't bad. But the issue is Ingram's out, and the guy who replaced him in the starting lineup put up 25 points in 16 shots. And that's the difference that we see. The efficiency and the lack of soaking usage. Now you could argue if you want to say, should he have a high usage? That's a different discussion for a different day. But the problem, the issue is he doesn't soak up the ball. He doesn't have the ball stopping. He's making quick decisions, and people can work off of his gravity from 28 feet out. And he's one of the best closeout attackers in the NBA. So he could just do the simple things and give you similar production than Brandon holding on to the ball and being the fulcrum of an offense. That's the reason why we all want him to leave.
So let's dive right into it. We've already taken the dive. Let's continue to talk about Brandon, the market, the trade, all that stuff. The Pelicans announced that Brandon Ingram has a high grade low ankle sprain. Adam, I see you shaking your head. Talk to me about a high grade low ankle sprain.
He's going to be out for like at least 2 months. And that's going to put you right up on deadline time. This is just like the worst back end of an asset management possible for an already problematic fit asset. And I'm sorry to talk about him that way.
Are you saying this is a recipe for disaster? Is that
what I'm saying it's parboiled for sure. It is for sure.
I'm gonna tap in Mike and Mason. This is the consultant hour now, and we're gonna all put on our McKinsey hats and talk about
McKinsey got me fired once upon a time.
We're gonna put on our Deloitte hats and look, the Pelicans announced he has a high grade low ankle sprain. He's already a player that takes his time coming back from injuries, to put it lightly. And as Adam pointed out, the deadline is roughly the time frame away that is what it takes to come back from this type of injury. I mean, again, they didn't put a specific grade on it, but even a high grade, like second level, a grade 2 ankle sprain can take 6 to 8 weeks, which is pushing you a month and a half, 2 months. In February 6th is the trade deadline, I believe, because I think the August 6th stuff was the extension related date. It's either the 6th or the 8th. Whatever, unimportant. Point here is they were fighting an uphill battle to find a suitor for him because of his contract demands. Now what you're hoping for is, look, with Clutch in play, there's not really going to be an accelerating timeline December 15th to January like some may have hoped for, right? December 15th makes 2/3 of the league eligible for trade pretty much, and you're hoping Clutch is going to come in here, throw their weight around, use Shams as a tool. He's very familiar with that agency, and maybe accelerate a resolution to this. Now there's just no chance because a team that is in the playoff hunt that is going to want Brandon Ingram is not going to trade away rotation level players for a guy that's going to be missing 2 months, right? So it's really become a deadline thing. And now at the deadline, you're hoping someone's going to be in a desperate enough spot with regards to their postseason chase that they are willing to take this kind of swing. And they're like, okay, we have the tradable salary. It's not going to be a ton of assets. I think that's the reality people need to prepare for. Once you get to the deadline, once that player has 2.5 months left on their deal, there's no level of assets that the Pelicans can recoup. It's gonna be the Garrett Temple, Thomas Satoransky second round pick trade that happened with Lonzo. That is about best case scenario in terms of if the Pelicans get 2 rotation NBA players, they're gonna be lucky, and that's my read on it. I'm going to pitch this all to you guys. Has Brandon Ingram played his last game as a Pelican? And this part 2 of that question is, if he hasn't, should he have?
I can answer the second one first. This should be his last game as a Pelican. Even if I'll just say it, yes, this is the last. If the organization makes sense of this issue, like yesterday should have been his last game as a Pelican. Honestly, because no, hear me out. Like you said, it's a 2-month stint. That's deadline. If he isn't moved, your 2-month stint is now a 3-month stint, especially if the record continues to go the way it goes. Make some agreement with the Players Association so you don't have this turmoil, but it should be he is the vocal leader in the background, giving them he's in good spirits, but yes, this should be his last game as a Pelican.
Yeah. It really just comes down to so let's assume that he doesn't get traded, but before the deadline. Like if that happens, it's just a question of, does he think that there's value in coming back and playing a couple weeks in the season to rehab value for his next contract to show he's healthy? And I just don't see it. I don't. Like I think like it's not like an ACL or an Achilles where like you have to be worried about the long-term stability. At least that's my gut. A long-term stability like an injury like that. And so I don't think a team would have to be really worried, but beyond just the fact that Brandon Ingram has been injury prone over the last like 3 or 4 years. Oh man!
Yeah,
come
I was just
on.
about to say, there are 3 of us in there's 3 of us in this room that is looking at this like, yo. Well,
Wait,
I'm thinking
can I read this out for the audio only audio?
Yeah, go ahead.
Audio only listeners. Mike just commented. Soto to the Mets, 15 freaking years and $700 million. Plus, 765.
765.
765 million.
This is the worst sports weekend.
Remember when baseball people when they said that he was a fool to pass up 15,440? Yeah, he was the people said he was a moron for passing up that money. 765.
Yeah,
okay.
Poverty franchise.
Hey. I would just like one Pete Alonso, please.
Some random anonymous account. We'll get off the Soto thing. We're not going to do a baseball podcast. I'm not letting Mason have that. And he doesn't want it
anyway. You're gonna let me have it. Let me have it because I get.
He didn't go to the Cubs. No.
I get Pete Alonso.
There was an account yesterday on Twitter that randomly popped up and said, "I have to do this from my burner, but I have to put this out there. He's gonna sign with the Mets, and it's gonna be the wildest contract you've ever seen." And I'm like, this is a weirdly specific burner, and it got like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of retweets. that burner probably works for somebody because there he is.
Yeah.
God bless burners, man. They've given us some tremendous content over the years. We're gonna bring this back to basketball, and let's talk about the contract, right? Mason was wondering if there's any benefit to him coming playing out those last few weeks of the season, a season that is more than likely not even going to land in a play-in berth for this team. And it seems like the group here is in agreement that no, there's no real benefit. I mean, I don't think anyone's going to have a real doubt that an ankle injury is going to keep him from performing how he needs to next year.
Right.
And so as long, like there's been no announcement that he needs surgery or anything of that. Now, if that news comes later, well, then we can have another one of these podcasts and dissect it all. Let's talk about his actual market and what that's going to look like this summer. So of the cap space teams, you have the Brooklyn Nets, and that's it right now. There are teams that can open up some level of flexibility. However, with Brandon's desire to play in a competitive environment, as Shams Charania has said by way of Rich Paul, I am sure. I don't think that, maybe he's looking at the Detroit Pistons or he's looking at some of these teams. Yeah, exactly. Charlotte, maybe because it's home, right?
I know.
Maybe.
That's the only one I hold out for is like maybe.
LaMelo. Right. Yeah, that's the only one. So if you look at good teams, sorry, Jeremy, can I finish one point?
Go ahead.
If you look at good teams, it's gonna be, can we get you in a sign and trade? And then when they look at that, they're gonna be like, are you as good as DeRozan? And there's gonna be a debate. There's gonna be debate with the age and all that, but that dollar figure is not gonna be much different than DeMar DeRozan. Is there a world where Brandon Ingram looks at all of this and goes, nah, man, I'm going to take a 1-year bet on myself, prove it deal in a better situation, not on the Pelicans. There's no way that's happened. I mean, this is the 1-year prove it deal, and hasn't proved anything, right? This is what it is. In a different situation, in a good situation, and remind people I can be a contributor to winning environments, and then, approach it. Jeremy, didn't you say that this is going to bring him to the next years of service eligibility long ago? Is this where
he will get 10 years where he can, in theory, get to his 35% hit?
So yeah, let's talk about those worlds, the sign and trade or the 1 year. The classic is the 1+1, right? That's how they've approached it. Where do you guys fall on that?
I owed you a couple of answers, and I was actually going to hit that as part of my two worlds of my yes and my yes. Should it be the last of his playing time here?
Please.
No, it's fine. I'm just trying to keep the content whole. So that the first yes, I think before this injury happened, you were already seeing Clutch do the things. They were starting the spin. They were starting it's actually been the Pelicans the whole time. It wasn't him. And he's actually a really competitive guy that just needs to be with a better team. And now that stuff's dead in the water because he's not healthy. I think we're staring at two eventualities, and you just hit them both. It's, will he come down at all on the number expectation, and what will that do for his market by the deadline? And after that, it's 1+1 territory for 20 and change, because it's all you got left. And that's a harsh reality that's kind of been prominent for a few months now, and has not been accepted by any reporting that we've seen anywhere. I think those are the two possibilities. He either acknowledges that this injury really sucks, and maybe it takes some hard stance from the team, say hey, look, we're done here, and you're not going to be back till X amount of time. So now's the time to go, because we're not going to play you if you come back. That would be interesting, because if they did that, then maybe he does come down and he takes a 2-year or something, or he's willing to talk to a team about an extension, and then there's a trade market. Otherwise, he's walking off your payroll, and look, I'll just take it at that point.
I'm wondering about the team that we just played.
Are you a Keldon Johnson fan? Is that what you're saying?
Fan is a stretch. That is a stretch.
Jeremy wants Keldon Johnson. Breaking news.
$17.5 million in 25-26.
Zach Collins?
No, I did not say. Hey, man, come on now. Let me just. I'm literally looking it up right now.
I don't hate Zach Collins.
By that time, do we even need that high expensive backup big? But theoretically, like at the beginning of the season, we were thinking, hey, if it's Cam Johnson, be the wing that you're replacing with. We're down to capable NBA rotation players, and Keldon Johnson is a capable rotation wing. In
Team USA thought
you
so.
even know you're stretching. You even know you're stretching right now.
Brother, it is better than Garrett Temple and Tomas Satoransky.
This man is out there on a plank right now talking about Keldon Johnson.
They do have a capable
not a
NBA
plank, it's a
wing,
toothpick.
which is Harrison Barnes, who did Harrison Barnes things to the Pelicans tonight. And he is I think he has 2 years on his deal, so he would be expiring next year, and he kind of fits those small salaries. I'm doing a quick shout out to Jay Miles. Thanks for listening. Chestnut Checkers, Boogie Cousins. That is a fantastic reference. And if this is a kind of a mixture of how the AD and Boogie situations played out, to be honest, this is a combo of that. But yeah, the Spurs are a destination that has been speculated on by other people in the NBA to me as well. And again, this is just gossip, right? This is not reporting or informed takes or anything like that. This is just gossip. And turns out NBA execs like to gossip too. And some of them are wondering, could the Spurs...
Would have never guessed that.
Some of them are wondering, could the Spurs be a team that decide, hey, this is a season we unexpectedly are in the 9 seed. Can we turn Harrison Barnes and Keldon Johnson into Brandon Ingram, see what this looks like for the next 2 months, and then worst case scenario, we just got off a bunch of salary and just let Brandon Ingram rock or sign him to a short-term deal? Is that something you guys can see happening?
For the sake of the show, I should make the argument like, yes, and here's why. No, I don't. I just don't. I don't see that. I like the Spurs, like the Oklahoma City Thunder, have shown a lot of asset discipline and long-term view, and are managing Wemby that way. And no, they would not do this. That's why I've been working on trades to Miami for the last 2 weeks. But look, they could maybe, but every sign they've given us is that they already have a Devin Vassell. They don't need another one. And Devin defends better. So yeah, I don't know.
Does he?
Yeah,
I think
he used to.
There's a lot of theory.
I think Brandon's developed significantly as a defender, and yeah, he deserves some credit on that end.
Yeah, I guess I just wonder. I'm with Adam on the Spurs thing. I'm thinking about it from Brandon's perspective, and where does he like rehab his value to his perception of his own market? Like, because the question is, right, can he help a winning team? Like, can you build a winner, like a real legit threat with Brandon Ingram as a main piece of your franchise? And to this day, the answer has been pretty resounding no, right? There have been extenuating circumstances every step of the way, but when will there not be? And so I question, if he goes to a bad team and lights it up, like, what does that mean for his future value? Like, I mean, does that do anything for him? And then, if he goes to a good team and takes a step back, like, I don't know. It's tough to see an outcome for BI that he wants, and even moderately close to what he's looking for. It's going to be tough for him to find that right situation. I don't. It's not readily available in my head. Like, I don't know. I don't see it.
I thought about a way to make the Spurs thing worth talking about. I do really want to see Chris Paul yell at him.
Dude, they would hate each other.
Cool.
Wasn't he involved in the Rondo fight incident?
Rondo fight. We could take it outside the Phoenix series. Like, no.
I want to see that.
At him. So you want to see two teammates fight on the court, is what you're saying?
Yes.
So
you're back with me with Sacramento Boogie. Who with Rondo? Okay, fair. That's
on that topic. Mike brings up, he says, I'm reading this for the listeners. By the way, I love that people in the Bay think the Warriors will trade for BI. BI hated his time with Steve Kerr. I know they have Stack as an assistant, given BI's long history with him, but Team USA, sigh. I read that out of order.
I said the same thing. I said the same thing. With
well, I don't think
talking with
Steve is gonna look at him like D'Lo, dude. Like,
yeah,
there's only so many of these guys.
Yeah, like no, that's not gonna happen. I was actually thinking, like we said, he wouldn't go to Detroit, but Detroit would be the perfect balance of team that's good enough that if you make them look better, you can say, "Hey, I helped this team go to the next level." If he wants to leave Detroit, and at the same token, they will have an opening because it's is Tim Hardaway Jr. and whatever contract you can get. Hey guys, you're not getting beef stew. You're not getting Jalen. I don't know if you want Jalen Duren. If you want Jalen Duren, keep rooting for Eve Misi. It's kind of the better version of him. And so you just take the contract, get under the tax, and I think that is the perfect landing spot for BI to rehab his value, show that he's a winner, so that he can take that team over the top, and also see if he can make it funny for me when he takes the ball out of Kate Cunningham's.
I have one Tobias Harris for you, Jeremy. That's what they're going to say. I have a Tobias Harris for you.
Hey, why not have two Tobiases?
I just look.
Three, if you think of Cade Cunningham as one.
The Miami thing, I think, is like
okay.
It's like one you can actually talk about. If they,
I don't want to stop.
All right, go ahead.
If you fuse Tobias and BI together, do you get one Cade Cunningham?
I don't know, bro.
So we're doing a fusion dance.
This is the Pokemon. Is this the Pokemon evolution? Like the Shingun Sabonis Jokic thing or whatever, but just with mid wings.
Yes.
I do want to
action for you there.
Before we take it to Miami, I want to touch on the Lakers real quick, and there's been a lot of speculation, including in the betting markets, that the Lakers might be the favorites to land Brandon Ingram, and I think a lot of that is driven by the agency that he signed with, the betting markets. That is not the anything else. But I want to comment on. I reached out to a few people who would be in the know about this, and I would be very surprised if the Lakers had any interest at all in Brandon Ingram. I
think they
does not seem to be very many fans over there, and I don't think there's. I think there would be a mutual disinterest in a LeBron Brandon reunion on both sides of that.
So it's just like the Kerr thing. Like, do you remember the recent past? Brandon Ingram and LeBron James famously did not like playing together and ended up separated. Steve Kerr and Brandon Ingram did not like coaching and being coached by each other, and it went real bad. Like, quit rehashing old bad television. This is like Fox, like rebooting shows they canceled. Don't do that. Let's just find somewhere else.
The other guy that was on the Team USA staff, Spo, is in Miami, and so let me lob it up to you. Let's talk about Miami.
That's the place. That's the place that has is in a weird interstitial place between being the right kind of competitive and being on the back end of Jimmy Butler, and looking like Bam is like continuing to ascend a little bit. Hero's having a little bit better of a season, but he can still be a really inefficient player. They took this risk on Terry Rozier that has not really turned into much of anything. So I could see a world where they were willing to kind of pivot on that decision. And if there is any team that has an established history of kind of forcing guys in, for one, holding guys accountable, like vocally, and two, kind of making guys fit the mold they have for them. Yeah, culturally, like I think you want him to go somewhere where he gets established as, like, at best the second best player, but like clearly where he knows that he is part of the food chain and not at the top of it. I think would do a world of good for him. I think it would change like his whole perspective on his own efficiency, because less usage means I got to do more with less, and that's all he's going to get there. And I'll take their crap, whatever they want to send over. Sure.
Yeah, I agree with most of that. However, Miami can't make Brandon Ingram a quick decision maker. Like, there are certain things that they just can't do to help him become a better basketball player. That he's just, I think the shot profile piece, I'm with you. Like, if Miami feels like a place that they hopefully could get through to him in that type of way. I don't even know. Like, do we even think Miami would be interested in BI in that way?
If I could make a retort, I saw Dion Waiters become a very good basketball player on the
define very good.
Come on,
Vincent.
Good enough. Get good enough. Like we say that but he can't be a quick decision maker. Spo has made chicken salad out of chicken shit for the post.
He coached two entire versions of Duncan Robinson into good players. Two entirely.
Those are like those are 6-man. Those are 6-man level players. Like, they're not getting not the contract BI wants to get.
Here's one bit of information I want to add to this discussion before I let you guys have at it again. Miami is 28th in pace, right? They're not a team that necessarily likes to push the pace. And historically, what's been a superpower of Spo's is he micromanages every single possession. Like, he's one of the old school, kind of like Rick Carlisle. He wants to orchestrate everything that's going on. And in the playoffs, that's what's made them better than expected, is you're not going up against the opposing point guard. You're going up against Spo. And I hate to break it to you, unless you're LeBron James or, one of these supercomputers, you're probably not going to outthink Spo. Obviously, talent is going to be a limiter, but that's what's a lot of teams in the East have run into, is the orchestrating and puppeteering by Eric Spoelstra. So, resume.
Mason, I'm gonna come back to the point you made that we didn't really address about, like, would Miami be interested? I would like to remind everybody of something else that happened this summer when BI wasn't getting traded. That Jimmy Butler was looking for his next multi-year deal to round out his career, and he got looked at by the Miami Heat, Pat Riley, and Pat Riley publicly stated that he wasn't thrilled with Jimmy and his comments. He said it in public. So, like, it's not exactly the same Heat team that it was 2 years ago. They may need somebody to pivot onto in case this Jimmy stuff doesn't go the way they want. They may very well have like a little bait and switch here where they take that bet because there's another different version of the Heat that are coming after this. But they got a real thing to deal with Pat and Jimmy wanting 4 years and big money. As old as he is and having taken a lot of the year off last year with everything with his family, and he's lower usage this year already, starting to play pretty well, but also on my fantasy team. But yeah, they got stuff there that make BI at least like an idea that's going to get kicked around.
Mike put in the chat that the numbers get wonky, that Rozier and Duncan are $44 million. I don't know the contracts on their end, but BI has a trade kicker that's going to bump him to 41.5. And now the numbers start getting closer. So once you get to 41.5, you could just put a, minimum player, Daniel Tice. There you go. And you can get there.
The thing I like about any of these weird teams, I think the Clippers I have in a similar boat to Miami. There's kind of a different flavor in that, like, they take these kind of gambles. They have a coach who micromanages stuff. Very, very, very similar thing. But I would need these to be a 3-team trade. I would need Terry Rozier going to Utah, going to Chicago. I would need a John Collins coming back. I would need a Nikola Vucevic coming back. A Clint Capella. Give me that expiring. Something where, it's Miami's just not going to be able to get it done on its own. The Clippers, they're not going to be able to get it done on their own. But are there 18 to $25 million pieces out there in the league that maybe have lower value than normal that you can go get, that gives you tradable salary, maybe gives you a little bit of tax relief, and can be a NBA player for you today? And I think I look at John Collins, who's had a little bit of a renaissance in Utah this season. Is he going to single-handedly win you games? Is he going to be as good as Brandon Ingram? Hell no. Is he going to be 18 million times better than JRE at finishing layups? Yes. Yes, he will be. Can he start when Zion misses games? Yes, he can do that. So that's what I'm looking for is, can you make the team better? Which I think all of this conversation that we're having is on the backdrop of this team is not going to blow it up. This team is not going to tank. So the four of us are trying to figure out solutions that make this a good team for maybe the last month of this year, but more so for next year. This year is this year. They're going to end up with the 9th pick or whatever. Their talent is not going to be bad enough to let them get a top 5 pick, and they're also just going to pick up wins. They just the bad teams are going to put on a historic tank race when we get to February and April and March. That's just going to happen.
I will note, I agree. I think the Pelicans might be able to tank. Okay. Their strength of the schedule remaining is bad. Like they haven't proven that they can win anything. So
what I'll say is, what I mean by tanking is they're not going to sell off. They're not going to sell Trey to the highest bidder. They're not going to sell Herb to the highest bidder. They're not going to move Dejounte.
For sure.
And frankly, I'll be surprised if they move Zion this season. In the summer, different conversation. But Zion, like Brandon, they need to get him back on. Well, I guess unlike Brandon, you don't need to get Brandon back on the court right now. But Zion, they need to get him back on the court. That is, point blank period. He needs to play before they can entertain any conversation of his trade, because frankly, no one. You think Brandon's value is bad, wait till you see Zion's, right? And they're not going to use a pick to get off of them.
Yeah, I'll go a step further and say they're not going to trade Zion in the summer either. The asset value is going to be so warped and has been so warped because of the availability. And then like the snapshot that we have this year, like you better hope he comes back and the 69% rim percentage comes back, because brother, it was like 47 or 43 for a while there. Like it was nasty. So yeah, you want to talk about problematic assets, like he's one where you would still want to get stuff for him, but who's going to make that bet? And who's going to make a bet? Like it'd be more likely that somebody would want to hedge their bet on Zion on like the fact that they can get out on some of his contract language, and it'd be shorter term assets, lower value. So I just don't think those things are going to marry anytime soon. So I think you're in with him. And like y'all said, everybody else is staying. The two big people you're talking about here really for me is BI and CJ, and BI removes the urgency around CJ and the arc of his career and getting him somewhere where he can help somebody out, because like he clearly is still playing great ball. But yeah, it's BI first, and then they're going to be pretty good. And Dejounte makes Messi like devastatingly powerful, and Herb's back, and Trey's bombing from 3 again. And he's going to average like 20 to 23 probably in these games, whether we win or lose.
Which is how I want to talk about with Sky. First of all, I appreciate the comment. They're not tanking. They just stink. That's the difference. Tanking is a philosophical process done by the organization saying we're trying to accumulate as many draft assets as possible for the next 2 or 3 years in hopes in 27, 28 that we be better. Nah, they just don't have talent right now. And talent is coming on the way. And the last couple of games have shown you when the talent plays, they are a competitive basketball team. So they aren't tanking. They're just losing. And that is a difference.
I want to touch upon Adam talking about who's going to make the bet on Zion. The Pelicans, and I'm not. It's not the bet as in we're betting on you to be an All NBA player. It's the bet as in we're a team that needs to be competitive, and you are a low value asset out there. So we're taking a swing on this low value asset because this is our only option. So that is the bet they're making, and they're hoping it can pan out in a way it can net them something positive, and hopefully in that process of netting them something positive comes a few wins that they are also rooting for. Like that is kind of the sad situation that they're in with Zion at this juncture. The last thing I want to say, I think before we can call it, is we've talked about moving Brandon for lack of a better term, spare parts. The right Brandon trade, or simply just letting him walk in the summer, does
It's not
buy
the one we
you-
just saw. No, not the one we just saw in the comments.
Wait, which one do? Oh,
Hey, bring it up. Bring it up.
No. Mike.
We talked about that one last week.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So,
Wait, no, we talked
for
about the last
audio listeners, Mike posited Lonzo and Vucevic. We did talk about this one last week a little bit, but
also with the Randall one, but yeah, fair enough.
oh, the Randall one. Okay, yeah.
Oh
Talk about
no!
gross.
See, that's different. Oh,
Randall
Hey,
and Dante
possible-
DiVincenzo. You just basically could have had Cat. Talk about a tough pill to
no.
swallow. But no. Look, here's where I'm at. Is if you make the right Brandon trade, it buys you time on CJ. Because if you get yourself far enough under the tax, you don't have to make a decision on CJ until next February. If you want to make that decision, it buys you time. There is some value in that, and I think there are versions of CJ on this team that are very productive and helpful. I think we're seeing some of that right now with Dejounte as the point guard, where he doesn't have to be the focal point. However, where do you guys fall on using Brandon not as a sell asset, but as a buy asset? Can you use Brandon and add something on top to go get someone that is maybe a tier above, not like superstar tier, but a tier above? And the name I'm gonna put out there, that the one that's available right now, is Zach LaVine.
Are there any other names? And I'm
The one that I am going to wish cast into existence that
give me that one.
is definitely not going to be there. Is if the Kings continue to suck, does
there it
the
is.
Sabonis take the fall? Does he take the fall? Because De'Aaron Fox, clutch client. That he has not signed an extension. He's applying pressure in all the ways these stars that have not signed an extension apply pressure. They obviously went out the way to sign DeMar DeRozan. That guy's not going anywhere. Is Sabonis going to be the one that takes the fall? And, can the Kings use their spare parts salary to go get a big elsewhere?
BI plus DeMar plus De'Aaron Fox. It's like De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk being just really tiny and handsy launching from three, and DeMar and BI ISOing in the post.
I want to see it so bad. It's like train wreck television. It's like Flavor of Love season 2. I want to see it so
Mike Brown doesn't have any hair to lose.
I want to see
his nose hairs.
It may work. It may work. But God, I just want to see De'Aaron Fox on the wing 3, rolling his eyes as another elbow touch with DeMar and BI screening for each other, and then still get switched, and they don't understand why. I want to see it so badly.
Look, I don't think you're wrong about that. Like, from the Kings' perspective, like we're gonna have a philosophy question about them and like being willing to just be this consistent, like 9th to 5th best depending on the year thing, and being happy with that and being content with just like getting into the postseason, which they may be, and they have postured as such in the past. And I do think I think the thing that is that Sabonis is a really good regular season player, but has been exposed in the playoffs for them and like doesn't do well in the matchups they need to win in the West to matter. I think he's like the smart pivot choice if they could actually get the upgrade. Brandon Ingram is not the upgrade. Like, Brandon Ingram is not what they do. He's not the pivot player. But I think there's something there with like Sabonis not necessarily being a fall guy, but like facing a really tough reality that if you want to go from just being like 5th to 9th best to potentially contending, you got to take a swing on something. And he's got real value. He's got real hardened value that the league, like, people would trade for him. And you could get a different kind of player that maybe you maximize better than the team that sent him. I don't know who that is, but I don't see the BI thing. Like LaVine, me and Jeremy can talk about this for years. We're LaVine defenders. Have been LaVine defenders for years.
It's his knee went. I
Yeah.
was until he went into the blip.
And it's just he's never going to defend. He's going to shoot a bunch of threes. He'll get you some steals. He'll have some good games. He'll have some bad ones. He hurts your team more than he helps it. No, he won't. No one will. So yeah, no, I don't see the buying up thing, though. I think it's worth I think the Sabonis thing is novel to talk about because that is like a real, if you wanted to have a high level conversation about like a weird name that could really move in something big, like that feels real. That feels tangible.
Did a Pelicans podcast just come up with the Zach and Vooch for Sabonis and Herder trade that's going to come down in February?
Oh God. The Kings did want Zach LaVine back in the day.
Vivek doesn't die easily, and he signed him to that offer sheet long ago. So
big like stuff.
I was this close to a political joke, but I let it go.
No, we're not doing this. That would be in our personal chat.
The non-live podcast. We can't get yelled at in the comments.
It's right there.
Cool. Gentlemen, are any other topics you want to get off your chest before we shut it down here?
Yes. Thanking all 35 of you who showed up. That's what we want to talk about. We want to appreciate everyone who came here. We're playing great winning basketball. We're at over 500 subscribers. Sure. Well, it was one win. It was a win. When you lose 9 straight, winning one game feels great. We have over 500. It's 509 subscribers, and we appreciate all you guys from the bottom of our hearts. Y'all, the reason why we do this, if we get 1,000 views, and we appreciate them. If everyone who looks at this clicks subscribe and alert that they get on, we'll have 1,000 subscribers. Just think of it that way. Don't think of we're trying to get 1,000. We just want each one of you to subscribe.
I love that he's reaching his QVC level. This is his salesmanship is getting way up there. Well, look, I'll say one thing, just like, hey, hang out with us. Like all the guys in this window are gonna make chicken salad out of this stuff for the rest of the season, regardless of how it goes. And just because this season has a lot of L's in it and has a lot of injuries in it, doesn't mean there ain't stuff to talk about. Yves Missi is really, really good and way ahead of schedule, and we will not stop shouting that from the mountaintops. Dejounte Murray is showing you why you traded for him, and you see like a focal core with him and your wings that are going to be here no matter what, and that are good bets. There will be stuff to talk about. And look, it'll always be interesting. We'll get Zion back at some point, and then we'll see things, and things will happen, and it will be messy and mucky, and we will talk about it. So just like hang in there. Find your drink of choice or your coping mechanism that you rely on and join us and just keep talking. And also From the Wing is not dead. And I'll see you on Wednesday. So
yeah, that was gonna be my next thing. Adam, where can these listeners find you? And all the platforms. I see you've already made your Blue Sky. Honestly, none of us have put our Blue Sky one up here. Adam's been the first one to do it. I don't know why we haven't even thought about it. Jeremy's not even on Twitter anymore, but where can they find
either? It's the same thing. It's that whatever the dot social Blue Sky thing. That.
Oh yeah, the show account is going over there as well. I am moving on without Christian Clark, who is now going to be in the Dallas market. I will taunt him for it and drag him back onto the show. So he's not that far away. He will be back. However, the first non-Christian episode is going to happen on Wednesday with a semi-permanent co-host, Mr. Steve Jones Jr. of the Dunker Spot. Will join us Wednesday morning. I can't guarantee that I'm going to have it out right Wednesday morning because I have to go to work. So it may be Wednesday evening. But we're going to record our first episode. I'm going to get some people indoctrinated into Steve Ball if you're not a Dunker Spot diehard. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to get him to talk about Pelicans granularly. I did, however, already pre-apologize for making him talk about the bad parts of the Pelicans. And he told me it's okay. So yeah, we'll be back Wednesday. Every platform, enhancements are coming. It will be a different show fairly soon in terms of some production features and things. Going to be trickling some stuff out. But yeah, we're not going anywhere. We'll be here every week.
Excited to see Adam get his Trey Murphy on when Brandon Ingram leaves. So,
Yeah.
Sorry, Christian. I hate to do it to you like that, my guy. We're going to end on that note. Thanks for listening. Appreciate everybody.